Hey everyone, Josh Taylor here from CE Podcast. Hope all is well. Today we're going to be talking about dog parks, alternative to dog parks, what I think about them. I was on CTV News in December and we were talking a lot about, or at least it came up, about dog parks and what I thought about them. And so I got a lot of feedback, people wanting to know more. So here we are. So we're talking about dog parks and the alternatives to dog parks and so on and so forth. So to get cracking, I do not like dog parks. Okay. So this is different. This isn't the same thing as I go to the dog park with a friend or two friends and they have their dogs and we go at a down time. All right. But it's more about the fact that you just don't really know what you're going to get in there, especially when it's jam packed. There's a place by me called Angel Woods, and it's a great place. I love it. Walking the trails, so on. But, when it comes to the dog park, I find it gets a little too much. And many people are really good. Don't get me wrong. So, I'm not necessarily pointing any fingers, but I do see a lot of people who don't pay attention, who are looking on their phones. They have no idea where their dog is. I've been in scenarios, no names obviously, but where I'm even in the trails and someone's dog just comes and lunges or attacks, and the owner of their own dog is trying to kick their own dog to get the dog off either my dog or a client's dog if we're going for a walk or whatever. So I always say that, you never know really what you're going to get when you're in there. Okay. And usually the common phrase is it's never happened before. Okay. So here we are, right? In scenarios where things have never happened before, but they happen every day. So I just kind of want to get into that a little bit. When it comes to the fenced in yards, the dog parks, people are usually on their phone or they're huddled in a group. I've seen some dog parks where they're huddled around chairs. It's almost like as if they created a bonfire and they're just kind of sitting in that circle and they're not even really focused on the dogs. And look, don't get me wrong, obviously we're social, they're social. So, we're going to be, we're both social at the same time, right? That the dogs are playing, we're talking to the people. I just find that it's just not regulated enough. There isn't enough structure and rules. And, as a dog trainer who tries to get people into a routine or a rhythm, dog parks can be very traumatizing if something does happen. I see it all the time. And again, this isn't necessarily, I'm not generalizing it, but I'm just saying, there's always that one dog that comes in and there's an issue or it's never happened before. Or they're testing the behavior when they know that the dog is not great. And then I've had other people where, a couple of times where I've gone with a client and they were like, can we practice a recall maybe in the dog park if it's empty? And, we would go to the dog park, for example, and there was a few people in, and we were planning to not even go in because obviously there was already a couple people in there. So we weren't going to practice a recall. And as we're walking near, they're like, oh, you're going to have to give us half an hour. This is their playtime, their group, but that dog over there isn't good with other dogs that are not in the group. So it won't go well if you bring your dog in. Wow. Right? So the public space that everyone gets to use is now unavailable for my client at that time, even though we weren't going to use it. So we just smiled, nodded, and moved on. And, maybe that wasn't right. Maybe we should have kind of said it's not your park, blah, blah, blah. But we weren't, whatever. But, we get things like that do happen. And so that comment made it sound like go in at your own peril, and instead of saying, I'm going to take my dog out, which I know there's plenty of people who do that, who say hey, I'm going to leave, my dog isn't fantastic. So again, I'm not generalizing. I'm just really kind of giving you an idea of what I see, especially as a dog trainer who is around, even though I don't love them, I'm around them quite often. So yeah. So dog parks for me are usually an accident waiting to happen. What are some alternatives is something I get very, very often. So, I mean, alternatives. I mean, you could go for a hike. Okay. Number one, this is like, going for a hike or going for a walk, you're going to meet dogs. Okay. And if you tell me your dog is not great on a leash, or, like I can't do it like that, like it's better in the dog park, well, then that's something that you can work on, right? That's something that we can try to make better and we can improve. Okay. Anything that involves like confidence boosting, you can set up a little, if you do have a fenced in yard, you can set up a little agility course. This will, attract your neighbors and friends who have dogs. Like, oh, why don't you bring over, your little guy, and they could go in the course together. This is so easy. Like the agility stuff that you can get on Amazon, for example, like it's so worth it. Okay. A couple $100 and you have it forever. Well, forever, for a long time. Another big one is like trails, like I know I was talking about hiking, like, if you go up to like, I don't know, Mont Blanc, or you're allowed to bring your dogs like to a lot of places like that. But also even just like trails, like I used to walk in the Bois de Liesse all the time. I loved that place. I typically find a lot of people are on leash, which is great. There are a couple, but mostly everyone is kind of following those rules. And that's a great place to walk your dog. I've met so many people. I don't know what to call it, but when I'm walking with my dog or I'm going somewhere, if they don't recognize me or they don't know who I am, I generally don't tell them that I'm a dog trainer. I don't know. It's just one of those things. I just want to be normal when it comes to just going for a walk with my dog. Usually if they do know me, which I love, by the way, like I'm not saying I don't like that either. Like when someone sees me, it almost always leads to a dog conversation. And I'm not like throwing that down or anything. Like I do love it. But, sometimes it's nice, right, to just kind of like get away from that and talk about something else that's unrelated. And I'm sure everyone thinks the same thing, right? Like, I mean, I've done it a million times. Like I meet someone, I'm talking to them and they're like, oh, I'm a personal trainer. I'm like, really? I have to ask you a few things, So I'm sure obviously, dog trainers aren't the only ones that get that. So another big one is, I actually recently started doing this, is jogging with your dog. Believe it or not, I find that when I'm jogging with my dog, I've had a lot more encounters with people and their dogs than I have been when I'm going for a walk. I don't know. I guess it's maybe there's like this jogger tribe that I don't know about. But I definitely get stopped way more often, which is totally fine. I'm with my dog, so I'm expecting to get stopped, and that's cool. But it actually happens a lot more. And then like, again, my other point is really like setting up a play date, which is like what I was mentioning about the agility. Like it doesn't have to be like a little agility course, but it could be, they're playing in the backyard. The only thing that I'll say about playing in the backyard is it's still the same rules apply. Okay. You want to make sure that, you're watching them and you're looking for those signals or the body language and so on and so forth. If, body language is something that you struggle with, well, why don't you shoot me an email and maybe I'll talk about it on the next podcast. Okay. Well, we'll get more into like body language and things that I look out for. The beginning of my career, I would say I got bit quite a bit, mainly because I didn't get the privilege like, some of the people I work with now where they get to kind of deal with big problem cases almost right away. I mean, they're well trained, but they get to deal with those problem cases right away versus me. Even when I had the theory and I was trained, it took a long time for me to deal with those big problem cases. And when I did start dealing with them, boy, oh boy, I got bit like crazy. And yeah, it was bad. I mean, one of my first big cases when it came to dog on dog aggression, it was pretty bad. And so the dog had what we call redirected reactivity, or redirected aggression, I guess. And so basically I was handling the dog, and theory and practical are two very big different things, but you can't rush it. You really can't. And so anyways, the dog turned around and got me real bad in my leg. I mean, my legs especially over the years, trust me, they've taken some abuse. But yeah, I mean, it's part of the game. It's part of the game. So yeah, so having said that, it's just important that you're figuring out your dog's body language and what things mean. I mean, I have dogs who are more loud than others. I have dogs who bark nonstop. I have dogs that are silent. So you have to kind of get to know your dog, as well as, of course, there's some subtle cues that will kind of pop up when it's like one of those, those moments where you're, oh boy, I got to get in there, or I got to break it up, or whatever the case is, or hopefully proactively. And there's, of course, ways to break up these fights. But we'll save that for another thing. One big thing that we actually do here at CE, at Canine Education, is we have like a doggy daycare, so like dog daycares are really great for many reasons. It's just, I know some people have probably, wherever they've gone, they've had either bad experiences and probably a lot of good ones, because obviously dog daycares are super popular. I think what's really important is that they are maintaining a good order, in the sense of there is that the dog ratio to humans is not significantly overpowered. It's kind of like think of it like a real daycare. I think I don't know. I really don't know what it is like human wise, but I'm assuming it's probably I don't know, one teacher for 10 students, or something along those lines, again, I don't know how that works, but it should be kind of like the same thing for dogs, maybe even less, because body language and how they speak and everything is a little different. Okay. And it's a lot of playing, and playing can turn into other things, like at recess, you have kids that play and then they get into a little kerfuffle sometimes. Dogs are always playing with each other, or they're playing with each other a lot more. So it's not just like a break period where they're playing. And of course you have dogs who have or daycares where there's active rest, where there's mental stimulation. So I think that a great alternative, if you were man, I wish I could keep socializing my dog, but dog parks are risky, or this or that, a friendly social space would be something like the daycare. So to give you an example of how my daycare works, I have a legit trainer. So it's always a trainer who's actually watching the dogs. It's not like a helper or someone. Sometimes we have a trainer and a helper, but generally speaking, it's someone with many, many years of experience, at the bare minimum, or they are actually a certified dog trainer. So this is great because we can kind of tailor some of the more challenging cases and actually utilize them into the daycare, depending, of course. So I find that really helps. Another big thing about it is that if you don't have that open space at home or in the backyard or whatever, and you are afraid of the dog parks, this is a great opportunity to get your dog out there and give them a good run, burn that energy. I always say a tired dog is a happy master. Okay. Or a tired dog is a happy pet parent, we could say. But it definitely really, really helps. Another big thing with like the dog daycare is like it distracts dogs from separation anxiety. So it's not to say that it cures it. I don't want to make it sound like daycares cure separation anxiety. But, with COVID and everything that has been going on, and now everyone going back to work, this could be a great alternative to actually work a little bit on this. Work on this a little bit, meaning like, oh boy, I'm going to be gone for like 8 hours because I can't work from home. This could be a great time for me to maybe bring my dog in. And of course, it would be wonderful if you could do that proactively. Like, you know what, I'm here all week. Maybe I should put the dog in a daycare for a couple days. So dog daycares, I find really, 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 really help. All right. Another big thing is it gives, the human time to focus. So what we actually do in our daycare is we actually have a training regiment, and we do this for everyone. And so, for example, one of my trainers, she's amazing. Her name is Emma. She will create a plan, like a plan of action that day. Like, okay, we're going to be working on sit, stay, down, blah, blah, blah. And so she comes up with a plan, and then they all go through that training plan. Our daycare is a little different just because we don't do like 10 dogs, one person kind of thing. So it's very, very small. So we have like 4 or 5 dogs per trainer. So it's very small groups of daycare. Also we're on like a second floor, so we don't have like an outside. So what we do is with 4 or 5 dogs, it's a lot more manageable because we actually go for walks around the village, which is fun, by the way, because once again, more social, right? They're being exposed, they're being trained. So it's really great. It really is. And it makes like it makes your in-home stuff a lot easier too to manage because you're getting that constant training, and we actually send you homework, and we give you kind of a list of what we did with the dog that day. So I find that it can really help, for sure. It's also a great outlet when it's like bad weather, like, oh boy, I don't want to walk my dog. It's terrible outside, or whatever the case might be. Right? So I think that all of these things can really just help give that nice balanced relationship in the sense where the dog is with you, the dog has some separation from you, the dog is seeing other dogs, other people, the dog is being social, the dog is being trained. It's a great way, and of course you also like there's a little bit of a community that starts. Like, for example, some of the dogs, they're so infatuated with each other that now the clients that are always like in that group, that time bracket, now they're talking with each other, and now they're seeing each other outside of the daycare, and which is great. I mean, that's what we want, right? We want to kind of build that relationship. So it's definitely really something that's incredible to see. It really is. So the daycare, I think that it's extremely important, and it's a fantastic alternative because everything is regulated. I'm not saying that mistakes don't happen. I'm not saying that there isn't going to be accidents here and there. I'm sure things happen at daycares all the time. And I mean, we can't control it all, but I could tell you one thing. It's way more safe, in my opinion. It's way more safe than taking it out there at the dog park. Again, so, do I ever go to, because I don't want to sound like I'm a hypocrite or anything. Do I ever go to the dog park? Yeah, of course I go. I go here and there. I go once in a while. It's very rare. And when I do, it's when there's very little to no people, okay? Because that's just how I like it. Couple of dogs, I can look at those dogs, I can watch those dogs, I can see how they're interacting with my dog, and if there's something I don't like, I'm out of there. I don't even think about it. But mainly I use it for the trails, okay? So it's rare that I actually go inside the park area, But yeah, I mean, I just find that this is the most safe way. So other than that, the daycare is by far a phenomenal tool. I'm sure wherever you live, there's dog daycares everywhere. Whether you have people that are doing it inside the home, there's a whole bunch here in the West Island. There's a few boarding and daycare places, like actual places all over Montreal, West Island. I mean, they're all over the place. So wherever you are, I know that there's a place that you could probably do that. That's affordable. Some that take more dogs, the price is generally less. The place that takes less dogs, obviously the price is generally higher. So, when you ask how many dogs are in the daycare and they say, it's 30, chances are, the price is going to be pretty good. When you hear stuff like, for example, like my daycare, where it's like there's 4 or 5 dogs, it's a little bit more expensive, which makes sense, right? Because there's a little bit theoretically more one-on-one time, and everyone has an opinion, So I find that I like running mine like that, even if it's not necessarily, we don't have 1,000 dogs that we're watching at the same time. It's not really much about the money. It's just about the fact that I wanted to offer an outlet where people can feel a little bit more safe about where they're bringing their dog. At the end of the day, we're building relationships. Being a dog trainer or any kind of service, we're in the service industry, right? I mean, so that's what it comes down to. Talked about how dog parks can be dangerous, that you should really be careful about going in one. Make sure that you're always watching the scenario, but if you can, I would technically avoid it. Some of the main things that you could do is you can go on trails, take hikes, you'll meet people, you'll meet dogs, set up a little agility course in your backyard. Maybe you could invite some friends over who have dogs. Take your dog to, like the Bois de Liesse, if you're in the West. Like, it's an example. It's like a trail, and it's just you walk in the woods basically. Jog with your dog. You'd be so surprised how many people talk to me or stop me with their dogs when I'm jogging to like say hi or let them socialize. So that's great. And of course, set up play dates. So just like I was talking about the agility course, like set up play dates, go for a walk together, let them interact and socialize. Okay. The more you desensitize, the better, Dog socialization. It is not playing with other dogs, meeting all people, going to dog parks, going to dog-friendly patios, restaurants, and stores, greeting dogs on leash. It is exposure to different sights, smells, noises, exposure to different handling, being neutral around people, dogs, and kids, maintaining focus in highly distracting environments, building positive associations with all of the above. Okay? So when I heard that, I was like, wow. I was like, that nails it right on the head right there. I mean, that literally explains dog socialization in a nutshell. That is by far really, really good. Really, really good. Okay? So try to keep those things in the back of your mind. Again, I want to say thank you so much to everyone. All right. Premium subscribers, I'm going to do a small little thing about the body language behind the dog park and things that you want to look out for. Just because, I have a couple of the premiums that were actually asking me about this, which is why it prompted me to kind of make this podcast about, the dog parks and so on. So I'm going to throw that in there for you. Okay. So stay tuned. Everyone, thank you so much. I just wanted to let you know that we hit 1,000+ downloads. That's right. 1,000+ downloads. I'm blown away, to be quite frank with you. I just can't believe it. I would love for some of you to maybe email us and let us know where you're coming from. Okay. So, when I was looking at the locations, I don't know, I saw some wow, I was just amazed. I mean, South Africa, Australia, the UK. I saw Germany. I saw Italy. I saw, of course, Canada, US, and I mean all over Canada and US, not even just where I'm from, which is Montreal, which I absolutely love everyone here. Like my big fan base, of course, even on the podcast, is right here, local Montreal. So just wanted to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. It really does. 1,000+ downloads. I'm speechless. I really can't believe it. So stay tuned for the next episode. And if you have some questions, or you even just want to email me, let me know where you're coming from. Okay. Maybe I'll give you a shout out on the next podcast. Okay. Send us an email at that's CE podcast at canineeducation.ca. CE podcast at canineeducation.ca. Josh, peace out, fam. Thanks a lot.